Read science fiction now. We're gonna see a world where people or human are more like us today. In fact, no different. And above all, in medical technologies and in human genetics and even in robotics or in everyday life like transport, communication. And why not? Because technology has developed in a brilliant way today. Now, both the classic and the contemporary literature, they both have miniature worlds. Science fiction, analyzed with a focus on nanobiotechnology, is not only visionary, but it's also speculative, and it's crazy and amazing and weird, and that it actually has the ability to make a reader shake his head in disbelief that, oh my God, this is not happening, this can be realized, or oh my God, this is bizarre. Now, this science fiction world is not a far-fetched dream anymore, because right now, if you were to live alone in the 1970s and 1980s, and if you were to be told that technology is going to take over the world, there's going to be software eating up the world, or there's going to be handheld devices that would eventually be taking over shopping, to businesses, to stocks, or even dating, wouldn't it sound absurd for the sheer exaggerations being made? Now, the 20th century actually did very little to increase our lifespan. But what about 2018? Or even if we see the past 1 year, we have seen rise of bitcoins or cryptocurrencies, or from the rise of bitcoins to the genetically engineered human embryos. Now, what does 2018 have for us? What is the next big innovation after the digital revolution? Now, it wouldn't be wrong if I say that the next software revolution could be the biotechnology revolution. Today, I'm going to be giving you a slice of biotechnology incorporated with nanotechnology that has the ability to change the world, or the way we see our world. And I'm going to be giving you some of the future prospects, ideas of some of the future prospects of nanobiotechnology that could only be imagined a few years ago. Now, when I speak about nanobiotechnology, you might have something like this in your head. You know, having a USB port embedded in your skull so that you can actually connect to the virtual world, rather than having your senses being connected to the virtual world, just like touching and hearing like we have now. Now, I don't know about this, but we actually have this in the labs, and these could actually eventually be used as spies. You never know, because I promise these are not photoshopped and not taken from science fiction movies, but rather these are actual flies that are called bug bots now, and these were actually genetically engineered and wired up before they even got out of their cocoons or wombs. Now, these could be of little or less importance to us, but it doesn't change the fact that the use of nanotechnology has really grown exponentially. And why not? Because after all, its applications, its potential benefits in medicine or pharmaceuticals is endlessly enlisted. And the nanotechnology have actually brought science of incomprehensibly small devices closer and closer to reality. Now, why are we not dealing with, feeding the 9 billion mouths in 2050? Why are we dealing with pharmaceuticals and not making biofuels? Let me remind you that those processes are already underway. But have you ever wondered how much time and money it takes for a drug to reach the market? This fact could be quite startling for the football fans here, because the cost for a drug to get approved by the FDA and reach the market is $1 billion US. And this cost can actually buy you every NFL seat in every NFL stadium for 6 weeks in a row. Now, that's not it. The time period is 12 years. Now, we can't let this happen in this technologically advanced world with the current healthcare costs being already, $8 trillion US. And worst part is 70 to 80% of the drugs, of the drug candidate, they actually fail in the late drug development stages rather than earlier. So already, $1,000 are being wasted in R&D investments. But not anymore, because now we have this, human organs on a nano chip. Now, these might seem unbelievable, but this works. Like, for example, I can have my organs cloned, and I can have it designed on a single nano chip. And this is possible because now we can clone our organs, or and this can actually be used as a preclinical drug testing instead of using cloned monkeys or mouses for preclinical drug testing that are done now. This can actually be an alternative to minimize those failures and stop the money being wasted on preclinical drug testings. Now, why not use this nanotechnology of having your biological system in a single nanochip and using as a preclinical drug testing? And this has the thickness less than the size of your hair. Now, why don't we use the techniques and innovation used in nanotechnology and use it to cure diseases that we can only wish today? How about this? The most dreaded of all, cancer. Now, in 1960, there was actually a movie and the movie actually had a really creative idea and a crazy idea where a nano submarine was actually cruising along your blood vessel. Now, this crazy idea was actually taken as an inspiration by doctors and scientists and people in the medical field, and they introduced a nanoparticle that was incorporated with a nanorobot that could be remote controlled when inside your body. And it was actually engulfed by a tumor. And so when the tumor engulfs it, the nanoparticle could be magnetized from the outside. So when the nanoparticle was magnetized, it could induce an electric field that could eventually burn up the tumor. And this came with little or no collateral damage to your body. And that's not it. The nanoparticle are used as, in fact, they're used as sniffers by dogs to detect cancer. And what's the benefit? You can actually detect cancer at a very early stage. And so it's basically a difference between a $1.20 test and thousands of dollars already used in medicines or antibiotics or for whatever disease. And you're basically saving the money and your time, and you're not taking medicines without knowing what's actually wrong with you. Now, you might have heard of the technique called gene therapy. The nanoparticles that can be incorporated with also gold, called the gold nanoparticles. The gold nanoparticles can actually be used to treat deadliest genetic diseases. Now, what these gold nanoparticles could do is that it can actually, if you incorporate the gold nanoparticles with DNA, it can actually replace your defective genes with the proper correct ones. So you're safe from having a genetic disease that otherwise would have been inevitable and you probably would have died. For example, diseases like cystic fibrosis or sickle cell anemia, just to name a few. Now, let's have a look at this. This looks like the real future. A 3D printer for a personalized cancer medicine. We do have a 3D printer now, but not for a personalized cancer medicine. And this can eventually be turned into a pen. And in the future, your medicines could actually be downloaded. Now, I'm not going to go into detail, but I'm going to tell you why this can be done. This can be done because you can now have your DNA sequenced with a single drop of blood in just under less than $1,000. Now, the DNA sequence is a code of life, much like how we have binary codes for computers to send instructions. Once we have this genetic code that we already have available to us as a genome project, we can actually break grounds in the platform of science. Now, by the year 2030, if you want to change the world, one can actually work in the field of nanobiotechnology or just biotechnology, because really science is exploding in this field. And the multidisciplinary field of nanobiotechnology is going to touch all aspects of our lives, from science and technology to everything. Now, I foresee a nano submarine cruising along your blood that can actually redesign a tumor, and so that the tumor can actually feed on other toxic bacteria and viruses in your body instead of your healthy cells, so that you can actually have a long lifespan. A lifespan beyond the blue whale, or maybe over 300 years. And if not that, then at least we can redesign these tumors to actually feed on the airborne and waterborne toxics, so that we can have a world free of pollution and green. And that means that leaves an expectations for one of you to actually leverage the knowledge and use this platform of science to bring all this into reality. And on that note, I wish you and your family a long and healthy life. Thank you.